This has been another sizable week for ADA. Not really surprising. It's been a very consistent theme since all the way in the height of the last market cycle, and I did finish the math. It is a shocking number, and I'm going to go over that with you guys in this video. It took me about an hour to do today, and I do also want to talk about some projections coming out about ADA actually outperforming Ethereum, XRP, and BTC in the cycle, as well as look at a couple charts we haven't looked at in a bit. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So it's about 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're starting to see U.S. money wake up. Haven't really made any, huge progress as the day has progressed, or as the couple hours has progressed, and that's fine. Honestly, I'd be totally fine with the charts just stopping right where they're at right now. Could I be okay with a little bit more pump? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a comfortable day. Again, I'm not expecting a crazy amount of volume today, and that's fine. What I did want to point to is actually a couple things that are actually really promising signs for the market in general. First of all, didn't get a chance to look at BTC dominance earlier this morning. Hard rejection at that 200-day moving average. That is a really big deal. Now, I will say it's sandwiched in between that 20-day moving average and the 200-day, so you could be basically getting a little bit of a fake out here where we're going to tap this and maybe try to retest the 200 and extend beyond it, or this could in fact turn into a little bit of a hard drop, and we'll see what happens obviously as we get through the rest of the day and get into the early part of the week. But that is definitely something to watch and pay attention to. Another thing I wanted to actually look at here as well is this ETH BTC chart. Now, this is what we were doing last market cycle, and I should align these two charts up just a little bit better here, but you guys can see we are actually following this trend from last market cycle. That makes me just a little bit nervous here. Not overly nervous. We can see times where Ethereum is not outperforming BTC, but alts are in fact performing well. In fact, what I will say is despite us starting to drop down in the ETH BTC chart, if we look at that ADA Ethereum chart, you guys can see the last couple days we have actually been outpacing ETH. And when we look back at this structure from both these market cycles, you guys can see we're kind of in that chop phase like we were talking about as we're prepping for this big run versus ETH. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or anything like that. It's going to happen very abruptly. It's going to surprise a lot of people because, again, this move is probably going to happen right as we're seeing that push towards the breakout on the ADA BTC chart, on the ADA dominance chart. When we're looking at ADA, we're trying to follow this market structure from last market cycle, this push that led us to our big, massive breakout, the up-only season, right? It's all kind of, again, working out just perfect from a time standpoint. And in fact, when we're talking about these projections that ADA is going to actually outperform XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin here in 2025, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Obviously, we know Ethereum has done pretty well this market cycle. BTC has just crushed it so far. XRP has done incredibly well, especially since November. And what that means is that ADA has a lot of room to catch up. Some people would say it's got to catch up, and that's fine. But that also means if it does catch up, it's going to be the best performer of all of them. All right. And remember, when ADA performs its best is typically later in market cycles when retail adoption is taking place. Retail loves ADA. It's not really a surprising theme. And like we've talked about, this supply shock for ADA is probably going to hit. And I've seen a couple of people laugh, and that's fine, right? If you don't understand supply shock, if you don't understand supply and demand, that's cool. But what I will say is, again, this was another sizable week in terms of ADA supply removal from exchanges, $41.15 million worth of ADA. That's a pretty sizable amount. You're talking about, oh gosh, what's that? About 60 million ADA removed this week alone. But I want to talk about all this. All right. We've discussed this at length. I mentioned I was going to do the math on it, and I did the math. And here's what I came up with. I had to plug in all this data manually. It sucked. It was quite the hour of crunching numbers. Unfortunately, there's not really a good way to do it where I can just input the data, just click and drop, right? But what I found is that roughly since the height of the last market cycle, since basically start of September of 2021, we have actually seen 5.5175 billion ADA removed from exchanges. That's a huge amount, guys. And the crazy thing is guys, this is a trend that hasn't really changed. So I didn't do the math leading up to this, and I should have, because actually these smaller days have even bigger impact than what these days do, because the price of ADA was so low. And yet despite that, for example, like there was some $7 million removal weeks here. So that day alone with the average price of, or that week alone with the average price of 2.6 cents, you're talking about almost 300 million ADA removed from exchanges in that week alone. So there's and there was questions yesterday. There is so little ADA in exchanges. It's ridiculous. And the thing is again, this isn't slowing down. We're accelerating into a time where when the demand does hit, there's not going to be much ADA in the market. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. We're building towards something really exciting. Michael Saylor hinting that winter is not coming back. Hey, maybe we see some more strategy buying as we get into the week. Remember, they were, what the heck is popping up on my feed? Anyways, we're getting into a time where, again, they're raising $4.2 billion to acquire more BTC. We're probably going to start to see institutional money buy again after that kind of shakeout week that we had. But I can't complain about where we're at. Would I like ADA to be higher? Yeah, I would. But I also understand from studying this structure that we're going through that ADA performs its best later in market cycles. That's why I see people saying, oh, I just can't wait to get my money back. I don't even care about profit at this point. Yeah, that sentiment always hits near bottoms. All right, that's all I got to say. So appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below. But have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.